looks like a woman for the most part. What is a female is obviously like somebody with like XX chromosomes and blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
What is a woman is somebody who looks and presents as a woman. And I know a lot of people are like, oh no, it's biology. But let's be honest, no one checked my genitals or my chromosomes before calling me a woman on here. And I didn't check anybody else's chromosomes or genitals before calling them a woman.
So it's how they look like their physical
Present,
appearance?
how they act.
Their performance, yeah.
Yeah, it's how they perform, basically.
All right. So this young lady, she's been on several of the whatever podcast episodes, and she seems really intelligent. I think she might be doing a double major. She also debated Andrew on feminism in a separate episode. So she actually seems very smart, which is why it is definitely frustrating and mind-boggling that she can't properly define what a woman is. There is an obvious issue with what she's just said, which is that she's defined the word woman by using the word woman. And we all know that you can't define anything by using the word that you're trying to define because it's circular. No new information was gained by her statement. There are several other issues with this. So she's trying to be all cute and say, no one checked your chromosomes when you came in here, but yet somehow we're able to properly identify women and distinguish them from men. But no one has ever needed to verify someone's chromosomes in order to answer that and get it accurate the vast majority of the time from the beginning of time. And so the idea that we all of a sudden need to check someone's chromosomes in order to know whether or not they are a man or a woman is totally ridiculous. And another issue with what she said is she's claimed that a woman is someone who presents as a woman and then follows that up with, acts like a woman, dresses like a woman. So I think we all know what she means. We all know that there are things about women that they're characteristics of women. She probably has in mind someone who wears a dress or has long hair. So if someone is trying to present as a woman, they might wear a wig. The problem with that, of course, is that there are real women who don't necessarily wear clothes that might make us think that they are presenting as a woman, and they might have short hair. They might, in fact, imitate characteristics that are more manly, but that doesn't actually change that the person is a woman. And so that is a huge issue with what she's just said. Another issue is she is defining woman by her own standard, which she hasn't really quite revealed to us, at least yet, from what I can see. And the last I checked, I don't think that we defined all these words by what this young lady defines them as. I don't think she gets to decide what presenting as a woman is. So I'm not exactly sure why that would be the case. She also said that, someone who's acting like a woman, well, she's a feminist, as I know from other clips. She's a feminist, so she certainly doesn't think that anyone else gets to define what women should be and what women should act like, because feminists are all about, women being independent. And so this all doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would certainly love to question her and kind of get to the meat of what she's saying, and she would end up, of course, contradicting her own viewpoint. And then lastly, what if someone, a man, was trying to present as a woman by wearing a skirt and wearing a wig and maybe putting on some makeup? Well, what if that person is just cross-dressing? And she might say, oh, you're a woman, and she might refer to this person as she, her. but then she would be misgendering them because the person is just cross-dressing. And so there are a variety of problems with this, and it's just sad that she is willing to either not fully understand what she's saying when she's so intelligent, and there's no reason why she couldn't just state the truth, or she's willing to lie to all of us and act like she doesn't know the real definition in order to pander to a very small group of people. So let's
the issue is that the issue that we're running to is if you define gender as essentially the performance, right? If you separate gender and sex, although I would argue gender is obviously downstream of sex, but if you treat them as separate words, then the question is, why do we, like, if you're going to say gender and sex are the same thing, why do we have two words?
I mean,
what's the purpose?
Can I add something?
Well, let's go around the table.
And also further to that, why when this question comes up, do people assume that the word woman relates to gender more so than sex? Because I don't think that actually has been defined. A woman is just the name for an adult human female. An adult human female, there you go. So female, if that's referring to sex and not gender, then people would not need to bring up gender when trying to dispute the definition of a woman.
To give everybody an opportunity to answer the initial question, what is a woman? And then if you want to add any additional, go ahead.
I mean, what I was going to say is I just feel like with that argument, like obviously not every person is going to, agree with certain things or understand why people are trans. For me, I feel like the main core thing is if we know that their life expectancies are in their like 26, 27, 28, because for me, it's more of like whether or not you understand it, it doesn't hard to respect somebody.
So hold people emotionally hostage.
What part of that is holding someone?
Well, because if you say, I will remove myself from the equation if you don't do this thing I want, you're holding people emotionally hostage.
I mean, also, I feel like if you're not passing and someone accidentally calls you the wrong pronoun, like, yes, you're being like, you shouldn't blow up on people for things like that. But if like, if you're vindictively doing it, that's a different thing.
Yeah, but
isn't
an emotional hostage taking to say, do this thing or else I'll hurt myself?
No. I don't think any trans person is saying if you do not.
Well, then why would the argument come up then?
No, but
where she says the reason we ought to do this is because these people could hurt themselves.
Yeah, there are absolutely transgender people.
Everyone also believes in what they believe in, but when it comes to like a woman and or when it comes to transgender and like pronouns, like I saw this TikTok where it was like, okay, like if I told you, oh well, I need to be called beautiful and I need to be called smart. And if you don't call me that, then you're basically like, you're wrong. Because it's like, isn't it really the same thing?
Yeah, this is a great example. This example creates an analogy between someone asking someone else to abide by the reality in one person's head to the other things that are also in their head. So if someone believes that he or she is in the wrong body, but obviously no one else can know that because they are also not in the person's head, they might also think that they're pretty if they're not, just for example, or beautiful or smart, I think is what she had said. And it really does, when you understand that those things are analogous, it really does support the claim that asking someone to call you by your preferred pronouns is just narcissism, right? Because you are making it all about your own perception of reality. And everyone else, are they just not allowed to have their own perception of reality or just understand what real reality entails?
Or if they say that they'll hurt themselves if you don't.
What's a cup? I mean, define for me a cup or a sandwich. What's a cup or a sandwich?
A cup.
Like smoothies aren't really soup, even though they kind of are in almost every single way, but they're not really, like, nobody treats them like they're soup. So why we don't call smoothies soup. And so this is a way where I'm breaking out to, like, I wouldn't say that a trans person is a female. I wouldn't really be willing to confer those medical terms to them. But when it comes to woman, it's necessarily evolved as a word of functionality. And so it's like, it's really weird if you have Megan Fox.
It really hasn't evolved. Someone somewhere decided that they would try to make it evolve into a different definition, but we all didn't agree to that. And also, we still need a way to reference real women. So I don't know if we should create a whole new word or if they should create a whole new word to suit their function as she's trying to talk about.
But she has a dick. For me to be like, oh, it's still a man. It's like,
I think that that's less weird. So definitions also have defining ends. They have support for what the definition's supposed to be. So we can look at words, and then we can look at the words that support those words. Yeah. What's the word that supports the word of woman? It's female.
It's not.
It is. It's always been. When is it?
No. It absolutely is. And it is crazy that you have people that are willing to say this kind of crap. It's just ridiculous. And I'm sad. I'm sad that we all can't agree on what's obvious.
Never. When is it not?
Like, to go back to what we were talking about earlier, I do think the logic of, well, we're all sinners as a reason to sin doesn't really make too much sense, because, like, to know you're going to continue sinning when you go and you confess or ask for forgiveness. When you're asking for forgiveness, like, is it asking for forgiveness or is it manipulation? If I tell you, I'm sorry, let's say, for a relationship example, I'm sorry I cheated on you, I'm not going to cheat on you again, and then cheat 2 days later. Were you ever truly sorry?
Do you want, like, the liturgical answer? Like Catholicism, for example, would say, no, you're not actually sorry.
Yeah, and I feel like different religion moment where I kind of have to step away from it is, if this is true, and if I believe in a Christian God that could literally damn me to eternal fire for this is the most important thing in the world. So it's either I live by it or I don't believe in it at all, because it's kind of odd to believe in something like that and then cherry pick it.
So did you just decide to not live by it?
I mean,
that's actually true what she said, but I'm a little bit confused about how what she's saying relates to the question of what is a woman. And it sounds like she decided to cherry pick. I don't know, let's see what she says.
I could go into depth of what I believe. I feel like I couldn't trust the same.
Sounds like she probably changed what she believes to accommodate what she wants to do.
Church that was.
What about you?
I don't really know how to answer that.
It's okay. You can. It's okay.
A woman is someone who is feminine and.
I can't think of another thing that we would all need to define that someone would struggle so much to define. And it's just further confirmation that it's an insane world that we're living in.
Because we have to make assumptions in order to use words.
Exactly.
What does that have to do with anything?
Exactly.
Just 1 second, then we'll come back in.
That's not a reflection.
Go ahead.
So the point is, our words have to reflect how we actually use them in reality. Otherwise, they're meaningless. Otherwise, I can call, you a chair or something like that, right? They have to have some.
It's so ironic. She's just saying we have to know what the definition is in order to use it and then to communicate. But she is the one who's violating the rule that she just said.
On our day-to-day usage. So you can say, like, oh no, like, technically, like, the appearance, it doesn't really matter, but it does matter because that is how we use the word. Functional definitions is what
is a male who identifies himself as a woman who doesn't meet any of the criteria for what you would consider presentation, even though they're trying really hard. Is that still a woman?
I would say societally they fail to present as a woman.
Okay, but would you still call them one?
Personally, I would be respectful towards them, but I would say, like, hey, you're not.
But again, she has to ask them if they failed to show or to manifest as a woman, then how would she know that they would prefer to be referred to as a woman without asking them? Yeah, so it just
but it doesn't. But wait, why would you do that? It doesn't match up with the reality.
What? Because you can be respectful towards.
She has contradicted her own definition. So good on Andrew for for getting her to do that.
Someone, right? But still be like, hey, you know, just telling you like there is a non-consensual or not, you're not meeting the basis for a reality requirement.
So what you're showing me here essentially is that you will use the word that doesn't meet up with the expectation of reality in order to
We do this
not
all
be
the time.
in order to not be a little bit overtly sensitive towards that person. However, if I'm using the word which is more descriptive towards that reality, what am I doing wrong?
I have a question.
No, answer mine and then ask yours.
I'm going to answer yours through this, basically.
You're going to answer mine by
Yes,
asking me
absolutely.
a question.
You'll see
You're
in
going
a
to
second.
answer my question by asking me a
No,
question.
you'll see. Just be patient.
Mhm.
You have called me Pixie, right? But that is not my governmental or my real name, right? That is my streaming name. Yet you still call me by that name, right? So even though that name isn't what is happening in reality, you still refer me to as such.
Pseudonym seems a bit different to me than the conversation.
The issue with this is that what we're doing is what often happens.
Wait, did you want to answer Andrew's question?
Well, yeah, the point that I was trying to get to
Okay,
at the
and then
basis of
we'll
this
get you in.
is that there are multiple scenarios and we understand that there's nuance. Not everything is black and white. We give certain like leverages or leniences towards it. So it's not super out there to be like, hey, you know what? Like, you know, it's okay to call someone Pixie, even though that's not their governmental legal name. And it's okay to say like, hey, you know, I'm going to call her Stephanie because she likes that name more, you know?
Yeah, until this is applied in reality like you're talking about. So I can call you Pixie, for instance. But if you were to go in and have tests done on you by the government, for instance, can you identify yourself as Pixie?
Just stepping in here to kind of wonder out loud if Pixie is willing to call someone she, her, when they don't meet the standards of societally presenting as a woman, then, okay, she would have to know this person, you know, would have to verbalize that he wants to go by she, her. What if the next day he's back to he, him, and then the next day after that it's she, her? Wouldn't at some point Pixie kind of realize that this is getting ridiculous and hard to keep up with and just unsustainable? And when it gets to that point, I think that's when you revert back to just being sane